Hi everyone, Raphael Harry here, and you're listening to White Label American, a podcast where we hear stories from an immigrant or two, sometimes more. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of White Label American. Thank you all for joining us today. Appreciate everybody, and thank you all for the love you've been sending to us. And yeah, keep sharing and giving us good ratings and great reviews, and keep the love coming in. Today, I have a very special guest. First time, I get to talk to somebody from the country in which she began her journey, and she's a global peace ambassador. She's also one of the frontline people who played a vital role during this pandemic. And I don't even know how she's able to do everything that she does, but she's just kind of a super duper person. And she's an entrepreneur. She's also in the medical field. She also is a content creator like myself, but she's more advanced than I am. I'm just starting. So she also does interviews, she does panels, and she's a moderator, and she talks to a lot more celebrities than I've ever dreamt of talking to. And as soon as we get into the episode, you get to find out a lot more about her story. She's hosted ETV and Harper Awards, Nollywood, Ankara Festival, Afri-Famu, and a whole bunch of other festivals, including BET Awards, the BET African Version Awards, red carpets, and everything, from African Union to a lot more. And she's also involved in nonprofits, and it just goes far and beyond. She's based in, she's done a lot of stuff in the Beverly Hills, LA, Chicago, and Dubai. So, and also help victims of the recent bomb blast in Lebanon too. So, I need to know how she manages her day. So, without much further ado, I introduce today's guest, Nathalie Beasnael. Did I get it? Or did I miss
Wow!
it?
Let me start with saying I am honored. I am more than excited whenever I meet my fellow brothers from the motherland doing what you do. I think it takes a stellar person and it takes transparency to be able to talk to so many people without knowing them. I'm honored. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, man.
I'm learning from the likes of you, so getting
Oh
there.
my God. No, I would have thought you teamed up with maybe the FBI or something. Sorry, but
Well, they have to pay me first before I can team up with them.
okay,
Then
okay. That's my language.
we'll start from there.
Yes,
Uh,
but
so
yeah,
now
you.
I will need your help with this first question that I'm going to ask, because I forgot to ask you before we began about the pronunciation. So this will be the
Yes.
first time I'll ever try to pronounce the name of this city publicly. So let's see if I'll mess it up or not. So the city in which you were born is
Uh-huh.
called N'Djamena, right?
Oh my goodness. Okay, you said it right, but the N is silent. Njamena.
Ah, Jamena. Okay. See, I
Yeah.
blame it on too much. I don't usually eat burgers, but during this pandemic, I've
Oh
eaten a lot
my
of
God.
chicken burgers.
No, what I was gonna say is I would blame it on tribalism. Africa has so many tribes,
Oh yeah,
and I think we want to break it into colonial times. All these names and all these dialects and all these,
it's a lot.
religions that we
It's
have,
a lot.
it becomes a little tedious. So Njamena, the N is
And
silent. It's
silent.
just
Okay.
like you in your country, you have some names that start with the letter N and
Yes.
it's silent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's true.
so yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and you said my last name right, Beasnael,
Beasnael,
So
which is a
yeah, it
beautiful
has a
name.
meaning.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you were born in Jamena, and you're the first person that I've ever talked to that was born in that city. So can you please introduce myself and the audience to your place of birth, and just tell us a little bit about there?
About N'Djamena.
Yeah.
Well, I come from a country that is vastly the Sahara Desert. And N'Djamena, for the longest, has been dubbed the capital. And during colonial times, it was called Fort Lamy. As you know,
Oh,
French was colonized by the French.
yes.
I say French was colonized. Chad was colonized
Chad,
by the
yeah,
French.
by the French, yeah.
And we have two official languages, which are Arabic and French.
Oh, okay.
If I want to describe N'Djamena to you, it's mostly the desert. I think we have so many buildings now, and there's not too much highlight on some of the most beautiful architectural work that we have there. But because of the Arab influence, some of the buildings look like buildings that you would find somehow in Dubai or North Africa, the more northern African countries like Libya, Tunisia, and some of the rest. If I should describe Chad or N'Djamena in one word, I would say it's almost like an excursion between going, if you live here in America, going to Arizona, maybe New Mexico,
Mm.
with a mixture of the heat that you get from Texas, from Dallas.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it gets a little windy too. It gets a little windy. So, you see a lot of people covering up in Chad. I know the last time that I went, even my sunglasses were melting. So it was that hot. But
Mm.
I think there's a special remedy to where I come from. The people there are a little bit more humble than needed. You can never be too humble,
Yeah.
but the humility is what strikes me whenever I land in Chad. And sometimes I'm talking about the people right now. Sometimes it's mistaken for weakness,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
that would
understand.
be the city in one word. You can't talk about a city without its people, and that's where I come from.
That's right. Um,
Yeah.
it's also interesting that you brought up. You mentioned the dressing a
Mhm.
little bit. Just mentioned a little bit of the outfits because I was born in Jos, and but my family is from the southern part of Nigeria, and
Nice.
with all the divisions and everything, and well, it all
Mhm.
comes from colonialism and the wrong narrative
Absolutely.
sold. But
Absolutely.
we always had this mentality, like everybody from the north, the closer you are to the desert, it's like automatic Sharia law. That's why they cover themselves. And I remember one time, probably just early into my young adult days, and it's like we're talking with a friend who's from the north, and it's like, I'm like, why you all cover yourselves, man? Hot weather, you all still cover yourselves without really thinking about the type of material they use in covering themselves.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
assumption is that everybody is just a Muslim, so that's why they
Yes.
cover themselves without thinking about the environment in which they live.
Absolutely.
Like if you're in a
Yeah.
desert and there's winds blowing and the winds carry sands, and
Mhm.
it damages people's skins.
It
And
does.
it will be later that I'll find out about that without still being able to put the connection,
Mhm.
and like connect the
Mhm.
dots. But
Mhm.
the older you get, and then the memories start coming in, like, oh yeah, someone once told me about this happening, like in some northern cities. They don't just decide to cover themselves for the sake of covering
Yeah.
themselves, but it's
Yeah.
an adaptation to the
Mhm.
environment and in which they find themselves. And I was like,
Absolutely.
oh, but other people from outside will just say, oh, all their women have outfits that just cover the whole body. All the men have long sleeves and long gowns, looking what they call that gown that the men wear. I like it now. After I stayed in the Middle East, I
Yeah, we
wore
call
one.
it boo boo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, boo
Yeah.
boo. I wore one
Yeah.
of that, and it's very comfy and it's light.
I
So
know. I know, right? It's
and I
very
was like,
comfortable.
why was that? But but when you just have one idea put in your head and you don't have any body countering it, you just always think like this is it. They're
Yeah.
all like this because of this reason. Nothing else
Right. Well,
comes to your mind. Like,
yeah.
why? Do you think the people in the past never thought about their weather? They never thought about the environment? No, they started
Mhm.
adapting a long time ago. But so I just remember that and just said I'll mention it. So
No,
yeah.
that's key. That's key to what you're doing because I think until you talk to people, then
Hmm.
you find out,
Yeah.
the true meaning of who they are and why they are the way they are. So I admire that. No, it's true. Yeah.
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 So with that being said, where I know you didn't spend all of your childhood in Jamena. You also moved
Oh,
to other cities, and we'll get
yeah.
to that. But this next question might involve you including one of the other cities. So, where does your favorite childhood memory comes from?
Oh, wow. Is that a trick question?
Yeah, it
No.
can be more than one memory. Oh, I'll accept two.
So many. Wow, you really put me on the spot like this.
Oh yeah, you have to be one city will be like, oh, you gave me you broke my heart. Don't worry, I'll defend you. Don't worry.
You know what? My favorite childhood memory,
Yeah.
if in Chad, would be, I know you can relate to this because you're African. The grandparents telling us stories right before we would go to bed.
Hmm.
And I remember when we would go to the village to visit pretty much every weekend. My grandma would say, "Come sit on my lap or come lay your head on my lap. I'm going to tell you a story." Until this day, believe it or not, those stories go through my mind, and I remember most of them. Now, the funny thing about that is telling those same stories to my kids, they can't relate, no matter how much I break the stories down and their
Hmm.
meaning,
Yeah.
they're like, really? What is it? What does that mean? So I have to bring it into modern times, because in Africa, typically they speak in, what is the word that I'm
Like
looking for?
proverbs and
Yeah, in proverbial
yeah.
ways. And I miss that. I'm sad that my kids haven't been able to experience that from my own grandparents. So that's what I miss the most in Chad.
Hmm.
Now, fast forward to Ghana, where my dad worked as a diplomat. What I miss is just running around in Eburi Gardens,
Hmm.
which most Ghanaians would know what this is. It's the botanical gardens in Africa. Mind
I've
you,
heard that name before.
Aburi Gardens,
Yeah.
Aburi,
Yeah.
was to me magical. And my parents would make sure that every weekend we went somewhere exciting, interesting. Mind you, we're coming from Chad. We don't have the beach in
Mm-hmm.
Chad. We don't have Aburi Gardens because it's the desert. And on the weekends, my sister and my brother and I would just wait impatiently for our trips to Aburi Garden.
Yeah.
And I have a little plaque, I have pictures. That's what I miss the most.
That's beautiful. Yeah, a lot of my guests tend to have something relating to outdoors when it comes to childhood memories. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I wasn't surprised that you mentioned Aburi Gardens.
So let your
Because,
kids run wild, right?
yeah,
No, not here or
yeah.
not where you are, right? Let them go out.
Well,
No, I mean,
mine does, but it's different now. It's
yeah,
not the
it's
same. But
different.
she's still young. She's
Time.
only 2 years. So,
Yeah, yeah. Different times, but
yeah.
you're actually taking me back down to memory lane. And, that's not even talking about some of the people that have impacted my life.
Oh,
But
we'll get there.
yeah, yeah,
We will.
yeah.
One interesting thing that just popped up in my mind was when you mentioned the stories from your grandparents. Um,
Yes.
you know, most people don't even realize that Chad is an African country because it's landlocked, and
Hmm.
the most of the countries people tend to think about are like the coastal countries, and except
Yes.
for maybe Congo, that's like the
Yes.
landlocked country that because it has a large population, to an Ethiopia. Those are like the two
Yeah.
big landlocked countries. But there's something about like this era that we are currently in that involves kind of what I'm doing, but some people are taking it to another level with the printed, taking stories and putting them in printed format and publishing them.
Mhm.
So the next generation coming can have something to
Mhm.
relate to no matter where they are in the world. And
Mhm.
because it's also important for building that connection, that just because you were born and raised in a different
Mm.
part of the world doesn't mean you get to lose that connection back home, and you're limited to
Absolutely.
going on
Absolutely.
YouTube to go and make your connection. Like your family has the book. Like you can get storybooks from almost every other country, every
Right.
and it's not just only limited to Europeans, but you find storybooks for of their stories. But we don't do that. We are so, because we are an oral. We did our history orally. That's how our
Yeah.
traditions worked.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it would take a while for us to start adapting to and by the time colonialism came, it didn't really encourage us to publish our stories. Instead, we
Right.
focused on just religion, and that was it. We stopped
Absolutely.
we stopped
Absolutely.
translating our stories into a format that we could save for our children, and they could take with them wherever they went. And that way, a piece
Yes.
of our culture always stayed with them, and that piece of them is, that piece of us, it goes with you wherever you are. And you can have something you can always look back to and say, oh, if my grandparents are not here, but I have this book that has the same stories. And that way, it makes it easier for the connection to be made, because when the children see the storybooks and they see the figures, they see the drawings and all that, children are always attracted to that, no matter whose drawing is in there. But for a long time, all we've seen is just people who don't look like us in those type of books. But if you notice
Absolutely.
now, it started changing because some of us have woken up to stuff like that. So
Yeah, no, you make a very valid point, actually, and that's and now we're going into the pros and cons of being African. Uh,
hey, but at least we have people who are working on changing
yeah,
that. And I know someone. I actually have to,
exactly.
now that I've said that, I have to write it down, because I thought I would
You
have
have to write
interviewed
it. Yeah,
him, because he's doing something with a story from Ghana for children's books. And
right, right.
but most times it's like the countries that are more popular that we tend to hear people already publishing stories from. But I also
Absolutely.
make the case that Africa has over 50 countries. So everybody
Yeah.
deserves to have stories from there. Because if I meet, like today is the first day I'm meeting you, and if somebody asks me like, okay, what's the story from Chad? I'm like, I don't know. What's
Exactly.
and but I would like my daughter to know all that too. She should be exposed,
Mhm.
because she knows she's exposed to Norse mythology. She's not from there, but she's already exposed to it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but same
Right.
way she's exposed, I can expose other children should be exposed to us too, in the same manner. And
Absolutely.
there's also money to be made for our people at the same time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
it creates jobs. That's another point.
Growing up, even though, we were in a French school,
Yeah.
French private school in Ghana, my dad made it a point, or I should say both of them. My parents made it a point for us to know about this book called Mamadou et Bineta. And
Mm.
most of my French speaking, I guess, people from Africa would know about that book. He also made it a point for us to watch movies and books made by Semben Usman, like Le Khala, books like Anansi's
Oh
story in
yeah, I
Ghana.
love Anansi stories. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually one of the stories that
the stories of,
the guy I'm
yeah,
talking
very
about is
so much
working on.
fun,
Yeah.
you know, and they're all relative. And
Mm-hmm.
then, as we got older, he made sure we knew about Chinua Achebe. He made sure we
Yep.
knew about Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who's, my godfather.
Oh
And then, yeah, so honestly, I say the pros and cons of being African. Our parents are educated. We
yes,
come from a continent that's packed with knowledge and richness. But I think the thing that we're lacking, I mean, myself included, is owning those things and saying that
that's right.
I hold the power, I hold that richness, I am one, I am powerful. And
Mm.
that's, stems from the lack of self esteem, stems from colonialism, if I must say.
Yeah.
Why did they come to our continent? Why did they come to visit us? Because we're so welcoming and we have so much to offer. Back in the day, I mean, there were so many things remedies that I didn't even know as a nurse, that still exist today, but in a different form. Hence during these times that we're living in, like the pandemic,
Yeah.
or what's going on in Nigeria right now. It's nothing new. The youth is arising to stop what's going on over there. But where does what's going on over there stem from? And so these are some of the things that stem from a result of what we've been through or what we've seen with colonialism.
That's true.
I personally didn't really grow up in Africa, but I grew up with Africa. And I lived and breathed, my household, how I grew up. I speak my native tongue thanks to my parents, but also growing up in Dallas, my parents made sure that anybody from any other African country was welcomed. And I think
Very important.
that also comes, from always being called the Chadian or the Chadians, because we were always, the ones that stood out, because not many Chadians at the time were
Yep.
in Ghana or even in Dallas, Texas. So, I mean, if we want to put it all in one word, transparency and talking to people like you're doing now, I mean, I'm grateful.
I love transparency, but I've never used it in the same way you just broke it down. So thank you for that. That's
You're welcome.
another way I'll apply transparency going forward. So knowing what I know about your background, and
Yeah.
it seems like you've always had a passion to you've always had a passion for being in the media and entertainment space, but yet you also are in the medical space. So
Yes.
how
Yeah.
exactly, maybe I should have asked this question a little bit later, because I still have questions to ask about getting to
Okay.
Texas and all that. But I already started, so I'll stick to this now. But
Okay.
yeah, how did this connection begin? Like how did this motivation, which motivation came first? Like what was it, medical, or was it the media, or yeah, which one came first for you, and how yeah, how do you how when people hear about you and people are like, wait, what, you're medical and then you're still in entertainment, like wait, what's going on here?
I know. Well, do they go together or do they not, right? I
Yeah.
always feel like we're always entertaining no matter what profession we have. With that said, I was born in nursing, My mom's a nurse.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, she was working and a little person named Natalie decided to come, at the hospital. So, nursing is in my blood, if I could say, so. But also being the daughter of a pastor and the grandchild of a pastor, service and nurturing, as well as taking care of people, is something that you just learn to live with. And I know that the story is when I was born, my mom had already told her fellow nurse friends and the doctors that if my daughter, back then they didn't have, they couldn't figure out the sex of the child, right?
Yeah.
So she said if it was a girl, she would name her Natalie. So my dad said he was outside, he couldn't hear what was going on, but the minute apparently I came out, all he heard was Natalie. So here I am, right? I made a grand entrance.
Yep.
So yeah, so nursing, with all jokes aside and all, funny stories, it came about when I had my kids, and entertainment had been something that I've always done since I was 11. I was on TV in Ghana when I was, I believe, 14, dancing the flamenco.
Hmm.
And so, entertainment, I think some kids, if you pay attention to the talent skills, and this again goes back to one of the pros and cons of being an African, right? That's a show in itself, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
it is that deserves a round table on its own.
Isn't that, yeah. So as growing up, I remember I would speak and my cousins would make fun of me. They would say, "Your voice sounds so different," or my voice would project across the room, and they would
Wow.
say, "Your voice is so loud. Speak with with a smaller voice." And even when we would play outside, in the yard with some of the neighbors, I would tippy toe on my toes, and I guess I would pretend I don't know, but I was a little mini diva, not in a negative way,
Yeah.
but
Oh
I
yeah.
had my own little, audience in my head at all times. But I think the love for entertainment stems from me loving just people, loving to talk to people. I think I've always been the most outgoing and most sociable child in the family. And so it's something that has been with me ever since I was very little. And the nursing, I think it made sense when I had my kids, but also the fact that I love to just nurture and take care of people and talk to people and ask them, "Oh, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, you're coming to visit. Okay, sit down, let's have tea, And I was actually an esthetician and a makeup artist for a long time.
Wow.
And people would ask me, this was while I was going to college, "Are you a nurse?" Especially when I would do facial in the facial room.
Yeah.
And I was, "Nope, I'm not a nurse." But as the years went by, I said, let me try this nursing thing. Something about it, when I watched the nurses take care of my own kids, I
Mhm.
fell in love, twice with it, because I knew my mom would always give injections. She's a midwife. And so she delivered babies. She did so much. And I thought, that's what mom does. And I think this is also culturally what I've seen with most West Africans. You're a little bit more vocal, and I think you're very stern sometimes towards the kids.
Yeah.
Whereas where I come from, it's I think it's a little bit more, a child like me, I probably would have excelled even more if the key word was, okay, you like this is what you're going to do, we're going to encourage you, not maybe, okay, let's see what you want, or if you think you like marketing, or if you think, I felt like there could have been a little bit more structure on that end. Not to say that my
Mm.
parents didn't do a good job, but the options were there. And the I guess the I had the rearing, but I felt like it wasn't strong enough because of my personality type.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is pay attention to the kids, the youth. The youth mean everything to me because they're our future, right?
Of course.
And I think once we become adults, we settle and we worry more about the day-to-day affairs, and
Mhm.
forget that these kids are watching us.
Yeah.
And some of them, we have some geniuses in the group, but if we do not nurture them or pay attention or give them a mirror, of what they could become,
Yes.
then that's where, we have a problem. So yeah, back to your question. I've always had those, I think, desires. And honestly, I feel like the talent was always there. And maybe it's more refined now. Yeah.
Well, there's something that you just brought to mind. You know, one another reason why I do this podcast is to also present another point of view to
Mm.
our people and
Yes.
show them that there's other ways available. And when
Oh,
you hear
yes.
from different people, you start seeing the similarities that we have. And sometimes, just because someone doesn't look like you or wasn't born on the continent of Africa,
Hmm.
does not mean that you can't take something from that person to
That's
apply
right.
in
Yeah.
how to raise kids and all that, and you can adapt it to our situation. And that's because
Hmm.
all about life. Our ancestors did that. They adapted. They always
Yeah.
adapted things, and I think that's
Yeah.
one point that's always been left out in the way we raise kids, or in the way
Right.
we act or behave nowadays. We just act like they always behave one way, and we forget to say, oh no, they adapted, they changed over time.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so when you brought up the point about your I'm not saying your parents did wrong, but but like they could have created, like, giving you options and the
Right.
structure. It's something that a lot of people that I know, including myself, we relate to a
Hmm.
lot, because
Hmm.
for a long part of my life it was all black and white. Like you go to school,
Yes.
you pass your exams, and you either become one of the top five, these top five professions. And
Right.
then when you it will take how many years? Then there were skills that I had, and I always had these skills. Then we all had different skill sets, and sometimes it was the same family that was encouraging you with those skill sets without recognizing that they were making you grow and
Absolutely.
excel in those skill sets. But they never looked at that as a skill set because the mind frame they had zoomed in on, you must become one of these five professions or else you're a failure. And the
Yeah.
moment you put that message out there, that kid will not recognize that I have something special. And it takes only a
Absolutely.
few, like some, like I always I mentioned this. There was one kid who he was not in my town, but a town away from mine, and I think I was 17 when we had
Mhm.
our going out of school high school exams. We call it WAEC in the English speaking West African countries, and
Uh-huh.
he got out of his 8 subjects, he got 7 A's and 1 B, and he took his
Mhm.
life.
Oh,
He took his life.
because he had 1B.
1 B, and I did not get 7 A's. Man, I think I only got 1 A. Yeah, I think I only got 1 A because I
Wow.
couldn't figure out how to go home when I saw my result. But I still went home and took the insults and the shouting and all that. Then maybe 10 years later, I found out that the people who were yelling at me, maybe only one of them got like 5 A's. And I was like, really? Why you were insulting me back 10 years ago? You know?
Oh, wow.
Like I was
Yeah.
done, but they destroy somebody's confidence without realizing that. And then now I thought about
Absolutely.
that kid
Yes.
who, with seven
Mhm.
A's and 1 B, what has been said to him? We don't know because he left a note,
We don't.
but he
Yeah.
was afraid to
Yeah.
go home and present that result to his family because he thought of himself as
Yeah.
a failure. Meanwhile, a lot of kids were like, "Man, you know what? I would have died for that result to go home."
Exactly. Oh,
And
it's sad.
but
Yeah.
when this picture of it has to be just one way, and pre-pandemic I used to attend a lot of networking events, and
Mhm.
I met a lady one time. She said she just didn't know what to study in college, and she just studied English. And
Right.
she works at a museum where she appraises, she helps to appraise artwork, the
Oh,
private museum artwork that cost millions of dollars.
look at
But
that.
somehow
Yeah.
the skill set transferred, and I was like, wait, what? No, but this
Right.
is. But then and then another day around, and I recognized that there was an event I attended a lot earlier, and somebody was just, hey, tell me about yourself, and I was telling him stuff that I had done from my days in Nigeria as a teenager when I started working, when I wasn't even getting paid for the job I was doing, and the guy was
Wow.
like, wow. And then I was only thinking about supply chain. I was like, I only want to work I only want to work as a logistics person. Like, just give me a logistics job,
Right.
a job that had the
Uh-huh.
title of supply chain. That's all I was thinking about. And the guy said to me, you sound like somebody you've been doing compliance. You've been doing compliance for a long time. I said, what?
Mm.
He said, yeah, you've been doing compliance. You should talk to me, man. I think we might have something for you. I'm like, compliance? Why would that don't sound like the title I'm looking for, because now I've zeroed in on one thing, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm done. This is it. But there are a lot of us. I know people like that. Oh, petroleum engineering. That's it. I would die here. And as soon as I can't get any job saying petroleum engineering, that's it. But when you
Yeah.
start looking at the person, there's so many skills, right? And we don't realize that from childhood. That's when we start to exhibit
That it
our
starts. Yes.
talents
You're
before
born.
before you even go to
Yeah.
secondary school or high school. It starts to show with the skill set, and a whole lot of things can be created out of that. But just because we've never been given the structure, the language, we don't have all that. And all of it is not always our parents' fault, because they too didn't have a structure that put them on that
Yeah.
path that said, give the kids mentors who can. Oh, what careers you want? These are the careers available. It's not only just about top these 5 jobs. No, there are other jobs that exist. You can build a career. It's not about jobs, it's about a career. And then I start looking like, wow, it would take me how many years to realize that the word called networking existed, and I've been doing it for
Mm.
years. But
For years.
we never knew.
No,
You
It
know?
stems from childhood,
Yeah.
and I not emphasize on that enough. But
Mm-hmm.
also, we're born, right?
Yeah.
God brings us into this world with each and every one of us has a set of skilled gifts and talents that the next person doesn't have, right? We're not the same, but yet we are, right?
Yes.
But also, the thing that gets me is that when we become one and we talk to each other, that's when we can teach each other certain things
That's
so
right.
that we can coexist and cohabitate. And this is where it gets tricky because in Africa, oh, well, you want to marry who? They're not from the same tribe as you. They're
Exactly.
not from the same class. You
Mm-hmm.
can't marry them. Wait, you want to marry who? A white person? No, you know what? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know.
So at the end of the day, are we all human? Do we all speak the same language? Do we all live and breathe the same air? And as a nurse, what I've noticed, I have yet to see a different color blood. Everyone's blood is red, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I I think what you just said is powerful in terms of the fact that, the young man that killed himself because he had one B, you know, in Africa, or I'm speaking for, old Africa. I think the self-esteem lied within the group or the community that you had, and that was it.
Yeah.
When really owning who you are, hence the name or the color or the country or wherever you came from, needed to be something that we knew about or that we actually took pride in from a different, from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that here. I feel like, with even George Floyd, with what just happened with Breonna Taylor, and then with what we're going through with elections right now, if you do not know who you are and what you stand for, you would not be able to progress or you would fall apart, especially in this time. I think Nigeria, West Africa, typically what we say is when Nigeria sets a foot forward, we all follow because you all in Nigeria, positively saying, have been the ones, even with music right now, with businesses, with just saying, I'm a Yoruba, or I'm Igbo, I'm this or that. You've made it known to the world that I am Nigerian, I'm proud. And not to say that other African countries, most of the people there are not proud of who they are, but I think there's a lack of we don't have a voice per se, or we choose to suppress our voice. And most of it, I say we have to hold ourselves accountable for it. You just told me that you'd never met someone from Chad, and there's so many more Chadians out there
Of
doing
course.
amazing, but a lot of people don't know about them because, again, we haven't been able to shine the light on each other. We haven't been able to say, look here, I'm proud, I'm Chadian, I'm Ngambai, or, if I want to go into tribalism. So with what you've said, I think having the platform that you have, and also for myself included, just keep talking, keep helping each other, keep cross-pollinating with each other's
Oh yeah.
events, you know?
And I'll continue to amplify voices from
Right,
my,
right.
my my main goal has always been to get at least one person from every country on earth,
I love that.
and and I'm getting there slowly but steady, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I cannot bring 10 people from Chad, and all 10 people will have different stories. That's the beauty of uh,
Absolutely.
hearing about
That's the thing.
hearing about each person's voice and giving them an opportunity to tell their story, because there's a power in each person's story. Uh,
Absolutely.
so let's jump a little bit. So you came to United States, and you was your first port of call Texas?
Yeah, Texas, Dallas, Texas,
Was
September
there a
2nd,
particular reason for
1989.
Dallas?
And now you just heard about my background. My
Yeah.
dad, when his, I guess, contract ended in Ghana, he wanted to become a pastor. So it's a
Okay.
calling.
Yeah.
And Dallas Theological Seminary at the time was where he felt called to go to. And so being at Dallas, well, when he left Ghana to go to Dallas Theological Seminary. He did not want to leave the family behind. And of course, his wife, my mom, and my all 5 children. Our first port of entry was in Dallas, Texas. And boy, was it a cultural shock. I think, if anything, what I thought was very different was how large the streets were and how clean, the city was. I was like, oh, wow,
In
But
comparison to Accra?
compared to Accra, ironically, but I wasn't so much impressed with the people because we were so advanced already in Ghana, in Accra, right? And also the lifestyle that we had. I wasn't impressed with the house that we had in Texas, even though homes are so beautiful in Texas. But then again, I forgot and I didn't know, now that I look back, that my dad was coming now as a student.
Yes.
Right?
So, yes,
and a religious, he was studying to become a pastor. So things were different.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, I remember my little sister, who actually yesterday was her birthday. She lives in New York. She'll kill me for telling people where she lives. But
well, I was saying happy birthday
actress.
to her.
Yeah, she's a Broadway actress, beautiful actress. But Dorcas Beasnael, D. Beasnael is her name.
Okay. Happy birthday, Dorcas.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Dorcas, darling. Yeah. And I remember at the time she was real young and she kept asking for the maid's name. Where's the maid? Where's the, you remember, you can, where's the houseboy? Where's the gardener? Where's the driver? Where's the watch? Right?
Yeah.
And so when my dad would say, well, they're not here, she'd start crying. So she just cried and cried. And of course, I was a little bit older, so I was sad. I was just mad. I was like, I want to go back to Ghana. I want to go back to Ghana, But, God, our God is an amazing God, and his timing is always the best, and he knows what's best for us. At the time, if I knew what I know now, I'm also grateful. Now I'm a global peace ambassador. I'm a nurse. I have 2 beautiful kids. I've traveled the world. And I speak multiple languages, not to say that I'm better or any less than anybody, but there are opportunities that were brought my way. Thank God I seized them. So, just to encourage everyone, opportunities are there every day. Now, some will present themselves in a very negative way. And you would say, why me? And have a tendency to just kind of close up. But whenever times are really hard for me, that's when, this might sound cliche, but that's when I'm like, okay, I need to brace up, even though, I could be crying or I could feel like I don't want to get out of bed. That's when I'm like, okay, I know that something amazing is down the line. Because mind you, when we first landed in Texas, I did not want to be there. I kept telling my parents, I won't go back. Yeah. And back then you didn't have what is it?
No social media. Right?
I ran my parents' bill, the phone bill. My dad
that happened to my elder brother did that too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
$3,000 bill. I remember that like it was yesterday because I yelled at, so needless to say, I'm grateful today that, I can call you FaceTime, WhatsApp. Back home in the village, they can talk to me, but seize the moments. The opportunities are daily. Whether positive or negative, they're there to prepare you for your future. And they're there. Sometimes it could happen within the moment, but for the most part, it's prepping you for something miraculously beautiful for the future.
That's beautiful. So, I just have to ask this because I lived in the DFW area for about 2 years. I lived in Grapevine. After I got out of no, ain't no cowboy here, but no cowboy, please. That I'm always happy when they lose. I don't do NFL, but I'm always happy when the Cowboys lose. That's just me. I don't know.
You know what?
Just
every time I hear a football team, I just say the name. Okay.
I'm always the Cowboys is the official team I love to hate on. That's just my team I love hating on. That's just No. Every other team, they can bribe me to be their fan. The Cowboy fans in Dallas area, they like one of them. She knows who I am, and she kept bribing me with food, and I was eating the food, good jollof rice. I'm not gonna lie.
With jollof rice, oh my!
And I would eat the food and drink. As soon as I finish eating, and I wipe my mouth, and I'm all right. She's like, "So you gonna support Cowboys today?" No. I'm out. Invite me again.
I love it. No, that's so true though. Good old Texas. I mean,
uh,
I miss the food in Texas. I miss. I think there's no other state like Texas. Don't you think so? I mean,
well,
why are we stuck in Texas? The South, the South.
Texas. Okay, well, yeah, I got a lot of friends there, so I
So
can't
do
say
I.
anything about Texas right now. They
Yeah.
might start rioting and be like, ah. I'm like,
They'll
okay,
find you.
well,
They'll
yeah. I
find
mean,
you
I still
for
miss my
sure.
burritos. They're my $4 burritos. That's like the main thing I miss the most. I'm not saying I don't
Yeah.
miss the people, but I miss my burritos more than the people. That's just
No, I miss
the
the
honest.
barbecue. Texas barbecue.
Yeah, the
I miss
barbecue
the
was
barbecue.
good. Was good. My
I don't
burritos.
eat.
Oh my goodness, my burritos.
Somebody's gonna
I,
send you
I
from
was
Texas.
I was in love as soon as I walked in there and I tasted the breakfast and the lunch
Uh-huh.
burritos and I couldn't move after that. I was like, you know what? Every time I came in there, they were like, "You don't want to try something else today?" No, but it's
Oh
dinner.
my
No,
goodness, you're
yep,
funny. You're
no, because it's
hilarious.
just
Okay.
my burritos.
Yeah.
I've tried different
Don't
meats
mess
in the
with
burritos.
Texas, as they say.
I mess with it. I mess with it, but yeah,
You mess with it.
I give their food credit. I
No,
give
no,
credit to
yeah.
their food.
Texas and the architectural, the beautiful homes, modernized homes that they have. I think the styles are just stunning.
Yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. They take things they everything is big in Texas. But anyways, but that's not to say the rest of the world is beautiful,
Of course. I know.
Yeah.
I think my audience gets that, but yeah.
The audience, yeah, yeah.
But
They
since
get
you
it.
already mentioned food, I think I'll just stick with food. So,
Okay.
um, if I like, because well, you so we rule Texas out of the equation now. I was going to ask for your favorite food, but
Mm.
since I don't know anything about Chadian food, I have to just automatically make it. What's your favorite Chadian meal? And if I were to say I want to try Chadian food today, what will you recommend for me to try? Because I eat food from everywhere, except if it's raw.
Yeah, I
Then
mean, yeah,
yeah,
have to. I mean, food is food, right? Food
yeah.
is and it's how however you've it's basically what's available,
Mm-hmm.
back in the historical times. But in today's society where everything is, especially where we live, this continent, this American land where everything is just fast, I think the best meal is the meal that has been, prepared over a long period of time with everything made from scratch.
Mm.
And you can relate to this as an African, but also people from other parts of the world can relate to this. Now, with that said, my favorite Chadian dish is, they call it kisar, which is literally like the Ethiopian jira,
Oh,
except that the Chadian kisar is made with rice.
okay.
It's white as opposed to the dark color that the injera has. Now I like it with okra, and
Mm.
so
Ah, that
most
sounds really yummy.
yeah, it's delicious. Yeah, and, most Americans will know okra. It the other version, which is gumbo, right? So I like my kisar with okra with gumbo. Now it's been a while. I don't eat red meat. Um, Once in a while, I eat chicken. I will say that, but
I
for the
prefer
most
goat.
part, yes, I know you prefer goat. I mean, you know what? We need to talk about that. Goat meat in other parts of the world, especially in Africa, it's a luxurious, piece of dish.
Yeah,
Once they make anything with goat,
it
you're
was
special.
earlier on my
If
bed
you
on
kill a
your
goat,
birthday or Christmas day or
okay,
somebody's wedding. Oh yeah, that
yeah,
you got goat meat.
goat, a cow. What else that that is very special because whenever I land in Chad, they kill,
Goat
they're
and
ready.
ram.
They're waiting. They kill the goats and the cows so to welcome me because it's something very special. But my favorite dish is kisar, and we also have, if you want to go into some of the pastries that we have, I love the gâteau tchadien, which are
Oh,
just fried pastries, and it's delicious just because it's just flour, milk, eggs, sugar, and you make little forms into maybe braided designs and they deep fat fried. Who doesn't like anything fried?
wow.
So that's, two of my favorite things. And then if you want to talk about what we drink, we're an Arab influenced country, so we drink a lot of, black tea, but the way it's ceremonial and the way it's served.
Hmm.
And I like tea. I'm a tea connoisseur. If you want to, talk about my tea likings, I go as far as, I go to the Chinese world and see their loose leaf teas. And if you ask me about the different kinds and their benefits, I'm all into that.
Oh wow,
But in my
that's good. There's a lot of healthy stuff in
Mhm.
tea.
Yes, yes. I mean, with everything that we put in our body has to have a beneficially, effect, right?
Yes.
And if for some reason it's an addiction that causes us, there's got to be some reason why we're addicted to that thing. That means you're lacking something, you're needing something, be it
Hmm.
emotionally, mentally, or physically, right? So you have to really assess what goes into your body. And that's why sometimes you meet certain people and certain diseases that are opportunistic diseases just creep up on them. And also, you can find someone here in America that is maybe 50 and looks, like they're 21, and back home, sometimes vice versa. Now,
Yeah.
you can find someone back home that that is maybe 50 and looks, you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I
So
get
at
it.
the end of the day, what you put into your body is very, very important to how you look, how you feel,
Yes.
and also you want to be able to give back something to the society, into the world that you're in. So I'm a big believer in that. I mean, I don't know if it's because of the way I was raised, but I think for me personally, what I put in my body means a lot. And how I feel in the morning, because I have so much stuff going on, I feel like if I eat a whole bag of, donuts, the next morning I don't feel good. I just don't feel good. I
I,
love
I,
donuts. Don't get
I
me wrong.
understand that, and
You
one of
yeah.
my earlier guests, she was
Hmm.
she's from China, and
Yes.
because she's a foreign student, she's still a foreign student
Uh-huh.
right now, but she's moved to the
Yes.
West Coast. She used to be in New York. I call her my Chinese sister, and
Your
uh,
Chinese sister.
she mentioned is it chamomile
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 tea.
tea.
I'm drinking
How
lavender tea right
yeah, how it's
now.
good for us, but she likes chamomile tea for night time, that
Hmm.
it's like it's calming. It gives a calming effect.
Absolutely. Very
And
soothing.
that, yeah, that was the first time I was like, wow, I never thought about tea.
Yeah.
I'm that caveman when it comes to tea. Just put the bag in the hot water. And, I prefer
Exactly.
ice,
Yeah.
just iced tea. Honestly, I'm like,
Oh, no, no,
sometimes I'm not even patient
no.
enough to wait for it. I remember the first time I was offered iced tea. I was like, what, there's tea that's ice.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
now that
No,
you
lavender
mentioned
tea.
drink, I have to ask because do you know zobo from the Nigerian side?
Mhm.
Have you ever heard of zobo? I think in English it would be called hibiscus. It's the drink they
Oh,
make from
hibiscus
hibiscus.
jamaica. Yeah, yeah. I drink that. That's another drink that I was going to mention in chat. That's very popular,
What do you
but
guys
it's
call it
so
over there?
we call it iri,
Iri.
iri, iri like iris, but without
Oh,
the
okay.
yeah, iri. Yeah,
Yeah, because
and it's one
I
of my
know
favorite.
zobo is a northern, the drink that came from
Hmm.
like northern from northerners in Nigeria.
Right,
So I,
right.
I just thought
But you
about it
see,
that
you
you
say
guys will
it
have
comes
it.
from Northerners. Here, we say it comes from Mexico, and in Chad, it's the one of the main drinks. I mean, everybody makes it hot or cold for you, and it has so many beneficial effects. It
Hmm.
has vitamin C, vitamin B. I mean, a lot of good elements in that tea. So I was gonna say we drink a lot of that too. Yes, and I love it. I love it.
Okay, so there's a tea separate from the drink.
There's various forms of making the drink. Now in Ghana, I noticed that you can combine it with pineapple, and you boil it and with ginger
Oh
also.
yeah, one of my
Yeah,
aunts did
yeah,
that in the 90s. I
yeah.
completely forgot about
Delicious.
that. Yeah, I actually helped her sell it. Forget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
We
then
boiled pineapple and ginger. Wow, yeah. The smell just
absolutely,
came into the aroma just came to my nose now. Like, oh my goodness.
you make us all hungry.
Wow.
But I have, loose leaf hibiscus here that I buy from the Mexican market
Mm.
in its, natural form. And I boil it, and I chill it, and sometimes I drink it, hot. And that's actually, most people that see me order it outside, they're like, well, you know about this? And see, this is where it gets really interesting because
Yeah,
the world is smaller than we know,
that's true.
yeah.
That's
So
true.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Then we have chocolate
I know
too.
when I was in Bahrain, and
Hmm.
I would go to, I'll go with my friends to some tea shops, and all
Hmm.
the stuff like that always started conversations. When people see
Hmm.
you in places that they don't like, oh, we don't expect to see you here. Like even when I went to a food court that I saw one day, and it was mostly Iranians that were there,
Hmm.
and
Yeah. And they
I,
wonder why you're eating
yeah, they're like,
kebab.
and I wore a Real Madrid soccer jersey, and and I came in there, but they knew I was military. I knew I was U.S. Navy, and when I
Yeah.
came in there, they were like, "Oh, what you want, boss?" And I was like, "Oh, what kind of food is this?" They said Iranian. I said, "Oh, I've never had Iranian food before. Yeah, let me try it.
Let me
Why
try.
not?"
Hmm.
And
Yes.
the chef, they went and told the chef, like, the Navy guy is here or something. And the guy came out, and I guess he came out to see it for himself. I was like, wow. So he started chatting with me, and then he hooked me up, gave me like a lot of, because I was getting food to go, and he just hooked me up with extra. I said, you know what? I'll be back again. And when
Yeah.
I got to my friend's place, my friend was like, where you get this food from? There's a lot of food. How much you pay? I said, oh, it's just a regular. He's like, oh, no, I don't believe it. So next time I came with my friend, and the chef's like, oh, you brought somebody now with you. I was like, yeah. And he still gave me extra
Hmm.
again. I was like, well, you see,
Right.
it's just,
No, you know what? You connected with them
yeah.
through food. And I think, there's nothing better than because this happens because I speak more than one language. Most Africans do, most people,
Hmm.
international people do, right? When you connect, when meet someone and you discuss about their food or their language, it's instant connection,
Yes.
you know so I think they felt connected to you, that you were becoming part of them, and so of course he's going to give you more than you even want or
Yeah, I
need.
was like, well,
But
I'm a
yeah,
bachelor, so I have extras, for
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's funny.
I don't have to
But
eat it
my
all tonight.
Yeah, so with Chadian food, there's so many other dishes that we
Mm.
all share all over Africa, like your fufu and a stew or a sauce. But we don't have palm oil in Texas. Look at me in Chad. You
Yeah.
see, you've gotten this Texas thing in my head. But one thing I know is that because of the influence of, also you mentioned Congo and Cameroon and
Yeah.
all these other countries around us, we use the juice of the palm nut. So we call it la moime. And we use
Ah.
that in cassava leaves. And the
Mm-hmm.
way we cook our cassava leaves is very similar to the Congolese. And so,
Mm.
whereas in Sierra Leone, or even in, I'm trying to think which other countries, maybe Liberia, where
Liberia,
they cook
yeah. There was
cassava leaf.
Liberians that introduced me to cassava leaf, because
Yeah, they add
we didn't cook it.
okra.
We didn't use it in Nigeria. Well, my part of Nigeria, where when I
They
started
don't.
like becoming a
Exactly. Even in
teenager,
Ghana
we
back then,
just
when
only harvested the cassava and threw away the leaves.
exactly. My mom used to collect, when in Ghana, when we would go to certain fields, they would get the cassava root
Yeah.
and they would throw the leaves. And my mom would say, no, 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 give me the leaves. And they would laugh at her. But of course, that's back then when we were
Yeah.
growing. Now, everybody's a little bit more aware. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's different. But also another way that, cassava leaves is cooked, maybe in Sierra Leone or in Liberia, they cook it with meats, and we don't. You cook it plain,
Ah.
and
Okay.
you accompany it with fried fish. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so Chadian dishes. Then again, we're known for the best kebabs and the best suyas,
Ah,
as
yes, yes.
yeah, because of the way we season our meats. The best, barbecues, I would say, because of the influence from the northern, cultures and their spices that we
Mm-hmm.
have. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
I have soya spice at home. My wife loves it, so
yeah, it's a, it's a,
she
it's a, it's
uses
a
it for
delicacy.
everything.
It's a rare, yeah, it's a very different. But also we have the beignet, which everybody shares all over, I think, Africa. You guys call it puff puff. We
Ah,
have,
yes. I was like, the name
you know,
sounds familiar. I was like, wait, I've heard that name before. But yeah, it was
Yeah, but
my Congolese
beignet,
sister. That's what she called it.
exactly. But a
Yeah.
beignet in Louisiana is slightly different from the beignet in France, you know. So it's the
Oh,
same thing.
so it's
Food
in
is, you know,
Louisiana too. Oh,
yes, it's the
wow.
same. It goes back to me saying that when you cut a human being, when they bleed, we all bleed.
Well, yeah, that's right.
So yeah.
So true. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, my mom goes crazy for puff puff.
I love
Beignet.
it. I could eat a whole basket
Ooh.
of stuff. Yeah.
I know the last time we were in Nigeria together,
Uh-huh.
we were driving one day. I think she was still in the United States, and
Yep.
I was like getting ready to move over, and so
Yeah.
she came down to visit and make sure my papers were good to go, and we were in one of my aunt's cars, and
Uh-huh.
we were in traffic, and I think traffic just cleared, and she just picked the scent, and she was like, "Stop the car right now!"
Oh wow.
That woman there has puff puff. Go get it. Like the woman was frying the puff puff on the street. You know, that's the
Oh
best one. You know, the woman by the corner, street corner there, frying the puff puff. You just go get it and they put it in old newspapers, and you wrap it up,
uh,
and yeah. So
no,
yeah,
it's
my mom,
it's
yeah, she knows the best scenting. Yeah, she like you make puff puff. You want to be her best friend. You show up to her with puff puff. Man, where have you been, mama? I'm like, you just had puff puff yesterday. What you mean this person? This person is a good
oh
person. You know, they shut up with puff puff.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
her favorite snacks right there. Puff puff.
Foods of the world.
Oh yeah. So let's stay in Accra. That's when you got into the media space. What was it like
Mhm.
when you conducted your first interview, and how did you
Well,
feel afterwards?
my first interview wasn't in Accra. I was on Accra. My first experience on TV was in
Okay.
Accra. And I was a lot younger. I was I would say a preteen, 13 or 14. But my first interview was actually in Texas.
Okay, so we'll jump back to
Um,
Texas.
And I remember I was part of the at the junior college that I attended. I was part of the Association of African Students, and I just enjoyed talking to each and every student. I would get so excited when I would hear someone speak French, or tell me they're from South Africa, or tell me they're from Kenya, because again of how I was raised, we were exposed to pretty much everyone from all over the world. And so I think the nostalgia that I had from growing up, whenever we got to Texas, just kind of took me to wanting to know more about everyone. And I remember doing a small interview with some Congolese students, as well as Ghanaian students, because those are the ones I could relate to right off the bat. And I talk about Congo so much because my dad grew up in Zaire.
Oh, okay.
And as a Chadian, they call him the Congolese Chadian because he speaks Lingala even better than some of the natives.
Wow.
And he went to high school and college there. And so in our household growing up, we ate a lot of Congolese dishes, the music,
Yeah.
well as, just the culture. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm more than grateful for that because it's given me an edge, and it's also given me a reason to be patient, but also to share some of what I know, because I can be plugged for the most time in different cultures, and I'm okay. I'm comfortable because it's something that I've been doing ever since I was little. With that said, yes, my first interview was conducted in Texas at the junior college there. And it just felt so comfortable, just like talking with your friends in the living room.
Yeah.
And I remember we filmed it and we edited, and I remember we edited it with the group Kaskas, which is a group from Congo. They're one of their songs. And till today, I remember when I played it for my dad, when he was watching, he was like, "What? Where did you hear Kaskas? Mais où est-ce que tu as trouvé la musique de Kaskas?" And he was so shocked because he was so busy studying, to become a pastor. And here we were, in college doing all our stuff. And the first time, that was his reaction. So then he started translating what was going on in the song in Lingala for me. And I was like, ha! And so that's how it started. And
Wow.
fast forward to Los Angeles with the different communities, that the red carpets and the interviews, and there you have it. And I'm here on White Label America.
Hey, see, you start in Texas and you end up in white label American one day.
That's right.
Ah, that's so beautiful. But um, staying in LA, how did you officially get your first gig? And what advice will you give to, especially young women who want to, because everybody always, I've had people message me, or like, people who I know back in Nigeria, especially younger
Hmm.
ones, always say they
Hmm.
want to be involved in the entertainment space. And
Right.
I'm not
Hmm.
officially in the entertainment space, but I try to give them the best advice I can. But it's
Right.
better when it comes from somebody who's already been doing it for some time. So, what's the best advice you give to, especially the young women who would say they want to, do what you're doing or be in that same industry?
Right. No, that's such a valid question, and important even more now than ever. Um, I think it was a Nigerian person who said, I remember they used to say to me, "What are you known for, Natalie?"
Mm,
And I kept saying, "Well, I know all these things. I've been, I have all this experience. I have this, I have that." No, what are you known for? So it stems with finding, what you stand for, what's your passion. Sometimes we don't know, but creating, I guess, a platform that you can stand on, and then presenting it to the others. Now, lightly said, just making sure you're out there helping people. The way I started is there have been so many events around. And in the beginning, people thought I was just attaching myself to their events. And they're like, well, why are you attaching yourself to this event and that event and this event? But no, they didn't understand where my game plan was. Yes, I was being part of an event because I could help and I could give what I have. Because when I was helping in during those events, I gave them 110%. I was professional.
mm,
I worked, sometimes I was late, but if I was there, I was given a time frame, I made sure I was one of the first people to be there and one of the last people to leave, because I knew that this event or whatever was happening at the time was this person's dream vision. Would I want someone to come and screw up my dream or my vision? I would want
mm,
people that would help me, that would give me 110%. With that said, sometimes in other parts of the world, it's a little bit tough to do that because of some of the red taping and labeling and all of that.
yeah.
But just be available, be humble, be consistent. I mean, these are things that you all know, but just know that showbiz or entertainment is not easy. It's not easy. You'll usually see the glitz and the glam, the outfits, the hair, the makeup for the
Mm-hmm.
women, and then lights and action, right? But people don't know that there's lack of sleep, there's anxiety, there is you're like, okay, you have to pretty much, compete with the next person to make sure that you're doing everything the right way, and not compete in a negative way, but make sure that once you get that little opportunity with that celebrity or just that event, you present your best self, because you might not get that chance again.
Yeah.
But also, honesty is key. Once you're there, make sure that everyone is protected, that event is protected, and that you're there to give 110% of yourself. And that's how I started. That's how I started, to be really honest. you know so that's it.
That's very, those are very important points that you raised there, and I'm glad that it came from you. And for someone who's already in the industry or like just starting and is getting overwhelmed with the anxiety, who let me put it this way, like I have someone who, like I told one of my first guests who's an
Mm-hmm.
actress that came on the
Uh-huh.
show. Like, I was listening to another podcast and it was an actress who was being interviewed and she broke down a whole lot of the background information of what happens in the acting industry in the background. And I was like, wow,
Oh yeah.
we just, I just use myself, like, but I knew a lot of people like who thought like myself, would just say, oh, a
Mhm.
woman, beautiful woman, simple, you just read the script, right? And then, but you don't
Mhm.
think about how difficult it is to get to that position.
It's
And,
hard.
and
Yeah.
so the actress that was on my podcast, Isra, fantastic lady, she also opened my eyes to like a whole different scene. Like, yeah, if you're not even an American citizen, it's a whole
Mm-hmm.
different struggle. And I was like, wow, people don't even realize all these things. And so there's so
Mm-hmm.
much that goes on that we only just look at, oh, you're on screen. I'm watching a movie. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know what it takes for you to appear in the movie.
To appear on that
We
even
just
that
think
little
like, oh,
15 second.
a
Yeah.
director wakes up and says, I want 5 people doing my film, and the 5 will just show up. Ta-da-da. And like, no, there's a whole process that goes into making that movie. Just like there's a whole process that's going into making a podcast. And there's a whole process that goes into everything that's content creation. And
Mm-hmm.
so for someone who's brand new into your industry and is now being overwhelmed by the whole surprises that he or she is getting,
Mm-hmm.
what ways will you advise them to take care of themselves and not
Right.
get blown out?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a very strong support system. I'm grateful for that. It wasn't always that way, but what I did, I think, where it clicked for me was when I found three ladies that were doing things that I liked, that I watched, and I mean, I was quite blessed. They came about my way. Some I met on the red carpet, but for me personally, it was just talking and opening up to those women and saying, I want to be like you. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong in saying that. And a lot of them, most of them feel flattered, and some will say, oh, you don't want to be like me. You have to be you. But just emulating what you think is what you want to do, or being surrounded by that. With that said, you have to have really thick skin and be ready to be coachable. Because some of the things that were said to me, if I didn't, if I don't think if I hadn't even thick skin, or even if I was strong enough, I'd make it this far. You're going to hear things that you don't want to hear, but just know that sometimes the advice that's being given to you is because these people that you're getting advice from, or you respect, have been through everything, and they have your best interest at heart because they have an image to uphold.
Yep.
So they know that if they say something that's wrong to you, if you get angry, you might dispel some things that they don't want people to know.
Mm.
So that's pretty much that in those terms. But have a support system. Spiritually, I'm strong. Have your church, your whoever you can hold on to, that can pray for you and that you pray with. You have to be strong on that point, because boy, I mean, there's some things out there that, and some opportunities that I'm like, should I take them? Should I not? That they're not fit for you, and they're not fit for what in the future your kids will see. So at the end of the day, your support system matters, but also be coachable and make sure you're talking to people who've already done it. I'm not saying people who are the same age group.
Yep.
Sometimes it might be someone who's 20, who's 5, or someone who's 90, and someone who's retired. Talk to the people who are, I think in this society here in America, the elderly are kind of disposable. In our society, they're not. You always go back to them. But
Yep.
if you don't have access to them, find someone, an old writer, I don't know, someone who you respect. Sometimes it might not even be someone in showbiz. In the markets in Africa, those are real business people,
That's true.
the people in the open market. Talk to them. You might get some sort of nice result. But okay, I'm giving you a broad, answer. But for me, what has worked was presenting myself and saying, I'm here to help. What area do you want me to help in your event? And that's the only way people are going to see your true talent. And that's what I did for a lot of these shows that you mentioned from the get-go. I presented myself. A lot of them were like, well, I've never met anybody from Chad. What can you do? And I'm not very tall. I mean, Raphael, I don't think you guys know that. I'm literally like 5'2", right? but I wear high heels. Thank God for high heels. Thank you, Louboutin.
You're
I
taller
feel,
in strides, you know.
hey, that's right. So for me, what has helped was presenting myself, making myself available, being humble, being coachable, and being ready to work from dusk till dawn. And I have kids, and sometimes it's been really tough, you know. But at the end of the day, you know what you want, you have a game plan, and God will be by your side and present and make way for you once you open your heart and you're humble and you're transparent and you ask people for help. You can do it.
All right. One thing I'll add to that is, if anyone's feeling, this is too much for me, or there's
Mm-hmm.
if you have access to professional help, yeah,
Yes.
go get it. Go, talk to
Oh,
them. I talk to therapists too, so it's not like I'm just
yeah.
throwing that out
You
there.
know, it's
Mental health is always important
mental
to take
health.
care of. Yeah.
Yes, mental health, emotional health,
Mm-hmm.
physical health, all of it is relative. Now, we come from a culture, now I'm talking to my, I guess, people from all over the world, other parts of the world except America. We come from, even here in
Oh
America, what
yeah,
am I
too.
talking?
Yeah, too. Because
You
but
know,
most of it's still a thing that, especially for
some,
men,
some
we
people
like
think,
we have to be broken down. Like, you meant like,
yes.
it's the end of the. You have to be at the end before you go get help.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. What's wrong with you? You're going to a therapist. But at the end of the day, I think if your mind is clear and stable, that's when you can be creative.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you can actually just be your best self. We all know that, right? And talking to people, people will pull, it's tough. Sometimes the energy, sometimes you're like, I don't want to talk to this person, but I have to, and
Yeah,
sometimes you're like, yay, I get to talk to this person. And when you're done, you're exhausted,
it's true.
yeah, but even just driving down the highway sometimes is exhausting by the time you come home.
Mm-hmm.
So you must open up. And I think the Congolese actually have a proverb that says this, le cœur d'une femme est une cantine, So the heart of a woman is a canteen, if I can say it wisely, or a chest, a treasure chest. The minute you open it, you get one thing, you can find beautiful treasures, some good, some bad, but you're going to find stuff. By the same token, as a man, you have to speak up. You have to be able to have a voice.
That's
And
right.
that's when you become, I have a personal story, and that's not even, you haven't even touched, you just got a sliver of it. But yeah. Mental health is an issue, whether you're happy, sad, or whatever it is, we all need help.
Oh yes. All right. I'll definitely arrange to do a part two with you, because
Oh boy.
there's yeah, there's a whole lot that I would still love to cover with you, but let's start to wrap it up. You know,
Yes.
but before I get to the final question, there's something that we've already touched on without really diving into it. So my second to the last question will be a fun question, and it's about music.
Yeah, my favorite.
So, oh, all righty. So we need your favorite, and
Yeah.
that includes artists.
Oh wow. You
Yeah,
really want names, huh?
I'm putting you on the
No, my
spot.
musician friends will get bad.
I'm putting you on the
No,
spot right now.
music is an international language, right? Just like
Yes.
they say love is an international language. And music for me, again, it goes back to mom and dad. We listened to everything when we were growing up. Dad had Prince, then he had the Monkees, then he had Mahalia Jackson, then he had Fela Kuti,
Mm-hmm.
then he had Miriam Makeba, to a point where my email in college was makeba1 at hotmail.com. Okay. So I was a Miriam,
Woo!
because,
The mama of
you
Africa.
so honestly, music to me is even when you're a guy, you've never experienced this, but for those of us who've been able to experience pregnancy, they say when a baby is in its mom's belly, play music so that baby can listen. And I remember my daughter, when I would play music, she would move. When I could feel her move. The Blind, what is it, Mr. Holland's Opus? I live in LA, so I have to throw out movies and things things that are, the sound of music. I mean, Summer Holiday, that's another British movie. You
Yeah.
have, I mean, the list, what is it? Michael, I'm asking my son to help me here. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, that's another good
Oh,
movie.
yeah. Yep.
you know,
Yep.
there's so many movies, The King and I,
Yeah.
that
The King and
music.
I. That was
We
one of
watched
those.
those.
Yeah,
Yes.
what
Then
that
you
I
go,
think that competed with The Sound of Music for popularity. That
absolutely.
was yeah. It was either
Yes, yes.
yeah.
But then we talked about Texas. When you watch all these cowboy movies, the music in those movies, take you to another level. But then again, if you go back, I remember in Ghana, we watched a movie called Love Brewed in an African Pot. The music in there used to terrify me, but it was just drums.
Yeah. Drums can do that. The right
Yes,
person playing the drums, he can make you happy. He
yes,
can make you
yes,
terrified,
yes,
and she
yes.
too. Because
And
there are female drummers now. And I know
yeah,
there's it.
and fast forward
Yeah.
to Roots, and then today we have God rest his soul, from Wakanda,
Oh yeah.
Black
Uh,
Panther. So
Chadwick
music
Boseman.
to me, I mean, I just come alive, depending on whatever kind form of music, as long as it has a positive message. Sometimes there might not be words in that music,
Oh
but
yeah.
it could dictate something negative. So you have to pay attention to the music in your life, right? You have to pay attention to the music that you give out to others. I
Mm.
sing a little, so I can say that music has been a source. I mean, also I sang in a choir. I'm a pastor's child, so music has been, my source of refuge. But then again, praise leads into worship, right? So if you're, prayerful, and you know what praise, like a good gospel sound, and you saw that in Sister Act, you saw
Oh
what
yeah.
that did to, um, uh, um, she's gonna kill me. I just
Oh
went blank on
well.
her.
Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg.
So music. I mean, I cannot tell you, but who is my favorite artist,
Yeah.
because then I'd be too biased. I think music to
Okay.
me.
I'm going to rephrase it. Now I'll make it easier on you.
Yes, please do.
Give
You'll be a
me
safe man.
give me three of your favorite Chadian artists.
Oh yeah, well, that's easy. My grandma, she she used to have these traditional songs like "Ngun ngun di rai ba un and jebo jet ba my
Mm.
mulaje di rai ba un jebo jet ba my mulaje." Now, some of the words are escaping me, but it was a nice little lullaby that she used to sing to us. There's that, and then
I did not see
of
that
course,
coming, but I'll
see,
take
I
that.
got you. I got you. And then in today, I mean, how could you not love Michael Jackson? I named my son
But
after
he's
the
not from
after.
Chad.
He's not from Chad, but let me veer back into the music, right?
Okay.
You want Chadian musicians? Yeah, let me not escape the question. See, I'm trying to run out of the question. MC Solar is a Chadian rapper,
Mm.
but he lives in France, so he's
Yeah,
also known as a French,
yeah,
rapper.
we'll
But I
take
think
him.
what he's done as a Chadian has been amazing. But then also you have today's musicians like Melody Melo. Melody, hello. And then you have Baton
Melody.
Daba. And I choose those two because their music actually has positive messages. And then you have my uncle. I have some other musicians out there that you just put me on the spot. So I'm trying to
Oh
think of
yeah.
some of them.
Well, I'm also
But
going to get into Chadian music too. My music
yes, it's
library
good.
is like
Yeah.
very large
I'll
with
send you
music
some
from
stuff.
everywhere. But
I'll
please
send you
do
some stuff. Yes,
send me
I'll
more.
send you some Chadian music. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But again, Chadian music is you've got a lot of the Arab influence up north.
Yes.
So some of the ladies that I know that I listen to have a lot of that Arabic, sound. And then you have southern Chad where the guitar, like the Congolese
Mm.
guitar, where you
Mm-hmm.
just can't stop, you have to move whenever
Oh
you hear
yeah.
that. We also have that in our songs,
Oh
but they
nice.
sing
Nice.
Arabic and in French and the dialects.
Hey, I'm
Does
down
that
with
answer
that.
your question?
I'm down with that. I, you
Okay.
gave me more than I was looking for, so I'll accept your answer. But if you had gone with
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, I was like, you know what?
Well,
I'm looking for
you
people to
know,
come to this podcast, but I don't want trouble because people going,
you know,
excuse me, Michael Jackson is
I,
not from Chad. He's from Nigeria. I'm like, I don't know. No, he's
let
from Ghana.
me
I'm like, oh my goodness. You know what?
let me save myself from the
Yeah.
Michael Jackson situation. Only because when you say Michael Jackson in Chad, everybody knows, right? And
Oh
who
yeah.
doesn't know Michael Jackson? But he's quite a
Yeah, I never heard his name said in French, but yeah,
yeah, right. They say
that's
Chico de Michael Jackson. When you're coming from America, everybody thinks you're best friends with Michael Jackson, especially in Chad. But I mean, I could be speaking not for every Chadian, but I had to,
I
mention.
saw the palace where he lived in because he lived in Bahrain for some time, and that
Yes,
it's
yes.
still a tourist attraction. Over people still come there and like, yo, that's where Michael
Wow.
Jackson lived. Michael
Yes,
Jackson used to stay there. Like people would go there and be taking photos. I was
yes,
like,
yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. Absolutely. Yes. But yeah. So
uh,
music.
yep. So final question:
Hmm.
what is one thing that you like to leave the audience with? Could be your favorite quote, could be from a book that you've read, could be from one of your songs, it could just be um, um, a word, a sentence. It's just something you like to leave the audience with. I always leave that up to the guest.
Well, there are two things. I mean, if I can safely say so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, growing up, my dad used to say this, and mom also used to say, if I would get hurt, I'd cry so much because I'm super sensitive. And my mom would say, there are bigger things in life that will be even more painful, and you're just crying for this.
Hmm.
And so, with that said, I know Charles Swindoll has a saying: life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you react, right? So that has been my motto in a lot of situations. What happens to me has happened or will happen, but how will I react to what is happening to me? Sometimes it's extenuating circumstances to where you just can't help but just break down. But there's a reason why things happen. Everything in life is not a coincidence. It's planned, you know. And I will say this for my believers, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So know that there's always a power there holding you up, keeping you strong, and giving you life, for you to stand tall and to accomplish everything that you do. So just with that said, life is only 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Embrace it.
Awesome. All right. So, for those who aren't aware of where they can find Natalie, where can they find you? And if they want to get in touch with you, please plug yourself in.
Oh, don't give out my cell phone
Oh
number
no, I
now.
won't. They have to like that's like they have to
No,
pay like $1 billion. That's the $1 billion fee.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you can watch me on Beasnael. We are not the same every Thursdays on my Instagram, where you could also get in touch with me, DM me, message me. I do respond
She does. She
under
does.
at Lady Dene. And also on Facebook under Nathalie Beasnael. You can find me there.
Awesome. All right, Messi. Thank you for coming on the
Oh,
podcast.
stop.
Can't appreciate you enough. We're
Oh,
definitely gonna have a part two where we're gonna focus more on Chad and
oh wow.
and Ghana. But yeah, and happy birthday again to Dorcas.
Yes,
And
she's right there in New York with
oh
you.
yeah, and yeah, you can put her in touch
She'll
with
kill
me.
me for saying this, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll do an episode for her. How about that? And
With her, yeah, she's a Broadway actress. Actually, she was just with Nina Simone. They were touring in France
oh,
doing the
nice.
Nina Simone act, and COVID-19 stopped it. But she's a phenomenal theater actress. She's been on a lot of theater plays right there in New York. So, yeah, I'm proud of my baby sister, who was born in Ghana, actually.
That's beautiful. Beautiful story
Yes.
there. All righty.
Yeah.
So thank you again for coming on the pod, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. Looking forward to seeing you all, and keep the love coming in, and keep sharing, and stay safe out there. Thank you for the privilege of your company.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, we'll appreciate if you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. If you have any questions, comments, or have someone who will be a good guest on the show, or you want to be on the show, send us a message at whitelabelamerican@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at White Label American. Thank you for your support.